An upcoming construction project on a major highway in St. Peter has residents and businesses getting ready for what will likely be a difficult year.
Aaron Stuvey has more.
As fall approaches, another construction season is nearing its close. But that only means that it's time to look ahead to what comes next. While it's still a couple years away, 2027 will see the reconstruction of Highway 169 in St. Peter from Broadway to Union Street. The project will see new paving, updated storm sewers, and some lane changes, adding turn lanes and sidewalk updates, along with a middle strip similar to what's on 169 just south of the project area.
Most of the improvements are related to the condition of the pavement as well as some of the underground infrastructure. So we're replacing those elements to enhance the life of the facility.
The project isn't set in stone yet, as MnDOT estimates that planning is only about 60% complete, and an open house in the community later this fall will hopefully solidify those plans more as they gather comments from the community. That feedback opportunity will be crucial for some businesses and community members, as construction on such a busy section of road won't come without compromises. The stretch is mostly residential, but there are some businesses lining the way that will need to find new ways to be visible and accessible during what MnDOT estimates will be a year-long project.
We're asking for support, whether that be signage to point to the businesses, whether that be access roads, gravel or otherwise, and for the traveling public and all the local consumers to support these businesses during times of construction.
In St. Peter, Aaron Stuvey, KEYC News Now.